watching KMBC Channel 9 HD. This is KMBC 9 First News. Local, live coverage you can count on.
Tim Clark is our guest. Now, if you're a YouTube person, you may have already discovered Tim Clark. If you're not, we're going to show you some of the video from YouTube where Tim Clark is a star, or should be a star. And his book is called With God, All Things Are Possible. Tim Clark is here. And first of all, before we go too far, let's tell people where to find the book. How do you get the book?
It's out on Amazon.
Amazon, good.
And Barnes & Noble.
Very good.
And my website is withgodallthings.com.
Withgodallthings.com, and you can find out about the book and the story. And let's start right off here. You were born with one arm, no legs, and of course missing the other arm.
Correct.
And so
Correct.
You're born with all of these physical challenges, and yet from looking just briefly through the book and talking to you a little bit, it doesn't seem as though, as traumatic as that would be, that it held you or your family back. Sometimes I think for family it can be almost as difficult as the person facing the challenges, because you don't, it's this whole new world. But it doesn't seem to have held any of you back.
Yeah, my parents, God gave me two great parents, two very unselfish parents, and you know, they had some great made some great calls early in my life. They had me undergo a couple surgeries to prepare my legs to wear prosthetic limbs. And you know, people today with prosthetic limb technology can live very normal lives. You know, I've had people who have actually known me for years who didn't even know that I didn't have any legs.
Is that right?
Yeah, I've honestly, and competed against them. And they were just blown away by the fact that I didn't have, you don't have any legs, you know? And yeah, and my parents raised me just like all my other brothers and sisters. They put me in the public school system. So the expectation from a very early age was that I would compete against able-bodied people, and both athletically as well as academically, and excel. So. Now,
the old cliche about kids, you'll hear, I've got a lot of kids, and so I don't think it's true, but you'll hear people say, kids can be so cruel, they can be so cruel. But I think a lot of times I observe kids can be very adaptable. When they see somebody with differences like you had in school, I think they can adapt to that quicker than adults can sometimes.
Yeah.
That Tim is different, but so what?
I had very few people pick on me. I don't know if that was the grace of God or whether I just grew up with a bunch of great kids. You know,
well, you had great hair. There's a picture of you here, and you had great hair, Tim.
I had hair back then.
That's part of it.
Exactly.
But I think that, but you know, did you? What did it take to get used to the idea that people are going to look at you and stare and wonder and have questions, and a lot of people won't feel comfortable coming up and saying, "Hey, what's your story?" And so, how did you and your family deal with that early on?
Yeah, you know, like I said, I never felt like I was treated any differently, and you know, I competed with all the neighborhood kids, you know, in sports and stuff, and I was always, you know, my brother Cam was a very good athlete, and we'd get together with all the neighborhood kids and play wiffle ball games and football games, and you know, whenever I dropped a touchdown pass, it was never, you know, Tim's missing 3 limbs. It was more, you idiot, you know, why'd you drop that pass, you know? So the expectations, you know, that common theme was that the expectations were always there, and, you know, that I would be, you know, expected to excel. So.
You wrestled, and you ran this 10K. That's on the cover of your book, With God, All Things Are Possible. And how long did it take you to do the 10K?
I ran a 10K on my knees in an hour and 28 minutes. So
on your knees?
Yeah, I averaged 14 minutes per mile. That was when I was at KU.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we established before we started that you're a Jayhawk and proud to be a Jayhawk. So the athletic drive in your brain, I'm guessing, must have helped you overcome, at least to a certain degree, the physical limitations that were presented to you.
Yeah, I've had a love and a passion for sports my whole life, and you know, I've always been, you know, really competitive, and I think that God put that drive in me.
You know, we're running this video, and tell us where this is from and when this is from. This is you swimming there. You're in the far lane, right? Yes.
This is at the Gladstone Community Center last year in June, the Kansas City Corporate Challenge. And there's 7 guys in my heat there, and
this is a 50-yard deal?
This is a 50-yard freestyle.
And how fast did you swim this?
Last year I did it in 45 seconds, and this year I was able to do it in 43 seconds.
Holy cow. And that's 4 seconds faster than Shaquille O'Neal is what you said, right?
No, actually I'm 4 seconds behind Shaquille O'Neal.
But that's pretty close.
But I'm chasing him.
You're chasing him. And so look at you go there.
Yeah.
And so you're swimming basically with the one arm and a lot of upper body strength.
Yeah, I used to be able to bench press 150 pounds with one arm, and now I can probably do about 125. But
so your split there was at about 23. That's pretty good.
Yeah, a coworker and former diver at the University of Nebraska at DST Systems came to my desk, and he got me into this swimming event. He coached me and trained me for 4 months before this swim and a year before this past year's swim. But
wow.
He taught me all the tricks of the trade, and I exceeded my own expectations, really.
And so out of the, you had told me before, you didn't necessarily want to do it if you were going to come in last, and there was going to be some sort of sympathy kind of feeling. You wanted to compete, and you didn't come in last, I don't think, did you?
No, I placed second in my heat there, and this year I placed third. I placed third in my heat this year. Wow. And out of 7 guys.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's how
and you can find that at YouTube. You can go there. You can also go. Tim has a couple of websites. One is Tim Clark Inspires. You can find it there. And also withgodallthings.com is another one. And we're going to talk more about the book and about Tim's life and all kinds of good things here. And I've adapted to the fact that he's from KU, because I have a child who's KU, and I'm okay with that. Well, we'll be back more with Tim Clark in just a little bit.
You're watching KMBC Channel 9 HD. This is KMBC 9 First News. Local, live coverage you can count on.
You are looking at YouTube video of Tim Clark. He's our guest today on Afterwards, and there goes Tim swimming a 50-yard heat there. Tim was born with one arm, and there he is swimming, and there he is now. And this is the part of the corporate challenge. That was from last year. This
Correct.
year you even did better.
Yeah, ended up doing it in 43 seconds, beat my time by over 2 seconds this year. So
now the name of your book is With God All Things Are Possible. It seems to me that sometimes when I meet folks who've been given the challenges similar to what you've been given, that it seems like there'd be 2 ways to go. You could either resent God and be angry with God and say, how dare you, and what did you do to me, and maybe even stop believing. Mm-hmm. Or you can go the direction it seems that you have gone, which is, okay, this is the hand I've been dealt, but here are all the blessings that came along with it.
Yeah, I believe God's got a mission and a destiny for all of us, and I see my disability as part of God's plan and purpose for my life. I don't believe that it was an accident. Mm-hmm. I believe that He gave me all this ability, athletic ability, to give me a ministry to speak to other people, to speak to others who may be more unfortunate than I am. Really, my disability is a lot more cosmetic because of the technology today than it sounds. It sounds a lot worse than it is, Well,
it does sound pretty bad, Tim.
It does.
When somebody says, I got an email, the reason we met Tim is because our friend Dave Stewart had interviewed Tim, and he said, here's this athlete, he has one arm. He's born without legs and with one, and it does sound traumatic.
It does, and I think that's by design. I think that's part of God's plan, because really I don't even realize, that I was this messed up until I saw myself. I wrestled in the high school, and we had to tape our matches, and when I saw myself on tape, I saw myself the way the rest of the world sees me, and it was. That was the first time, and I go, wow, that's what everybody else sees. And it's kind of an interesting, I think we see ourselves in the mirror a little differently than we really are, you know. It's kind of, an illusion, so to speak.
Is there, when you talk to somebody or meet somebody who maybe, they have, especially with young folks, they may have what seems like a trivial problem. Like they're just mad about something trivial. I didn't get to use the car. I don't get to get my license. What part of your brain kicks in then? Do you think, come on, kid, look at what I've overcome, or is it more of, well, in your moment, that's your challenge?
Yeah, we all got challenges, and I'll be honest, I complain too. Who are we kidding? I gripe. I'm not perfect by any means, and it's human nature, to complain about little things. I just hope that, through my disability, and some of the things that I've been able to overcome, that I can inspire some people. So. And
you are using this book to inspire. You're also speaking increasingly to groups about your story?
Yeah, I'm going to be entering into the world of public speaking, and I believe we're all capable of a lot more than You know, we tend to believe.
I'll take your credit.
We tend to believe, and you know, one of my favorite coaches of all time is Herb Brooks, the U.S. Olympic hockey team, and you know, when they faced the Soviets in 1980, he gave that great speech before, and he said, you know, great moments are born from great opportunities, and you know, that's kind of the, you know, I tell people all the time that every time you compete in sports, you have an opportunity to do something that's never been done before. And that's the kind of the mindset that I take when I go in to compete, is I want to do something today that's never happened before. And you know, I take the fear out of it by turning all the results over to God. You know, my philosophy is, you know, do your best and let God do the rest. So
a lot of people would look at your story and say, this young man went to regular school, just in the regular school system, went to KU, which is a challenging campus to get around on for anybody. You got hills and all over and they would say, that's amazing. And then you go that extra step and do the competitive kind of sports thing. On a day-to-day basis, are you so good at adapting now that it doesn't phase you on a day-to-day basis, these physical challenges that you have?
I have challenges, you know, within my job and stuff, and you know, that I have to adapt to, you know, to keep up and remain productive in the workplace and stuff. With one arm, you know, it's a challenge.
But there must be a way. Well, obviously you found a way to overcome that, even on a day-to-day basis. Because I think that what we're seeing there with the swimming is an amazing thing. But in my head, I'm thinking this guy, just on a day-to-day basis, is faced with the little things that a lot of us would take for granted. You have to think about a little bit before you do it.
Yeah, there are a few challenges, but it like I said, it's not as bad as it sounds. It really isn't. I mean, I think God can give some unseen talents to make up for or compensate for a perceived disability, and a lot of times it's really not as bad as you might think.
Well, you're an inspiring guy. That's what Dave Stewart said in his email. This is an inspiring young man, and with God, all things are possible is the name of the book. You can get it through Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can also go to withgodallthings.com. That's Tim's website. And also there's timclarkinspires.com. You can go there and see the video, the YouTube video there. And you're still competing. What's the next challenge that you've set for yourself here in the last 10 seconds of our time together?
Well, I want to place. I placed second in the United States for the standing disabled in table tennis. I'd like to try to be the national champion.
I didn't even touch on that. You're a table tennis champion.
Yeah. I did good in table tennis. That's my best sport. And we'd also like to break 40 seconds in the 50. So.
Wonderful, wonderful story. Go find the book. It'll be inspiring to you, and not just inspiring, it's fun. This is a fun book to read, and you learn all about his family and the whole bit. Tim, thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And don't forget, withgodallthings.com, the place to go and learn more about Tim Clark.